Dr. Rosemary T. Masasar,
to the SGOD Chief, Dr. Maria Carmela Gomera Tumpong Abdim, to the CIDG Chief, Dr. Maria Eva Escudon,
to the Division Education Specialist in Research, Dr. Bridget E. Abalorio, and to the members of the Research Committee in the Division of Lanao del Norte,
good morning!
we are honored to present to you
our action research entitled
Enhancing Learners' Critical Thinking, Problem Solving, and Decision-Making Skills through Differentiated Instruction.
Context and Rationale. The advancement of science and technology in the 21st century has contributed so much in the international arena in terms of its educational systems. However, it has no escape in the threat of the 2019 human coronavirus disease. In the Philippines, this pandemic also significantly changed the Department of Education in managing and governing the full implementation of basic education. Amidst the adversities faced brought about by coronavirus, the agency did not falter but constantly regaining its strengths with the help of experts across the country, both in the private and government institutions, just to sustain the most efficient and effective teaching and learning strategies in order to provide excellence and quality education, considering the international transformational approach to education in a new normal, according to Education Secretary Leonor Briones, Manila Bulletin 2019. She explained that the performance of Filipino students in large-scale assessment, which is the National Achievement Tests or NAT, gravitates towards low proficiency levels, especially in science, math, and English. NAT is administered for grade 6, grade 10, and grade 12 students. And aside from NAT results, DepEd also revealed the latest result of the program for International Student Assessment, or ISA, of the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, where the Filipino learners placed last among 79 participating countries and near last in science and mathematics. This action research study helped in the enhancement of the learners' 21st century critical thinking, problem solving, and decision-making skills through the utilization of differentiated instruction learning approach in order to address the uttermost needs of its senior high school learners. This study aimed in addressing the enhancement of senior high school learners' 21st century critical thinking, problem solving, and decision-making skills through differentiated instruction of KAPATAGAN National High School in the Senior High School Department for the school year 2021-2022. Specifically, this study sought to answer the following questions. What is the level of learners' critical thinking, problem solving, decision-making skills before and after the intervention? Is there a significant difference between the learners' critical thinking, problem solving, and decision-making skills before and after the intervention? What action plan can be done based on the results of the study?
the researchers used the descriptive comparative research design. This type of research is appropriate when the researcher is interested to utilize, compare, and determine the extent or direction of a group of subjects in relation to certain designated variables that occur in normal conditions. Cristobal and De La Cruz Cristobal 2013. The data extracted from this method provided a picture of the current situation of learners' 21st century critical thinking, problem solving, and decision-making skills. Furthermore, the data provided the facts on how each learners from grade 11 GAS A with 37 students and grade 11 GAS B with 34 students engaged in the DRR subject in terms of their individual 21st century critical thinking, problem solving, and decision-making skills. The whole statistical population was subjected for inspection and investigation. It employed non-probability purposive sampling for a specific purpose in an inquiry. The researchers utilize a standardized questionnaire adopted from BASIS 21 questionnaire version 1.0 based on Newton 2018, retranslated to English. The researchers adopted the above-mentioned questionnaire specific to critical thinking, problem-solving, and decision-making, since the goal of the study was focused on the 21st century skills in the teaching-learning process of the DRRR subject. To ensure integrity and quality, the researchers considered ethical standard in gathering their data, the procedure of analyzing the data, and the dissemination of the findings. The researchers sent a communication letter addressed to the Office of the School's Division Superintendent, the Division of Manao del Norte, asking for his permission and endorsement to conduct the study in the researchers' workplace action. After the school's division superintendent had given his approval, then communication letter was sent to the principal of KNHS, where the research study took place. The research participants of the study were oriented on the nature of the veracity of the study to secure their full cooperation support through a virtual meeting. Most importantly, the researchers reminded the research participants about the purpose and significance of the study, risk and benefits of the study. Their utmost privacy and child protection were duly given adequate level of confidentiality and priority. They were ensured with all honesty and transparency of communication. Most importantly, the researchers reminded the research participants about the purpose and significance of the study, risk and benefits of the study. Their utmost privacy and child protection were duly given adequate level of confidentiality and priority. They were ensured with all honesty and transparency of communication, and the student participants were provided with the informed consent as a preliminary step in the data collection.
This section discussed the results and reflection of the enhanced learners' 21st century critical thinking, problem solving, and decision-making skills with differentiated instruction learning approach in the DRRR. Number 1. What is the level of learners' critical thinking, problem solving, and decision-making skills before and after intervention? Table 1.1 showed the result of level of learners' critical thinking, problem solving, and decision-making skills before the intervention. Table 1.1 level of learners' critical thinking, problem solving, and decision-making skills before the intervention. The indicator, as shown in Table 1.1, the level of learners' critical thinking, problem solving, and decision-making skills before the intervention was made, it indicated that those learners who compared different opinions or ideas to see which is better had a total weighted mean score of 2.99 and a standard deviation of 0.96 and described as low. The mean score for learners who made decision according to the information that they had got 3.01 with a standard deviation of 0.82 and described as high. Then, learners who liked to ask the questions to learn something new got a mean score of 2.96 and a standard deviation of 1.07 and described as low. Meanwhile, those learners who listened to the ideas of their friends and considered them when opinion formed got a mean score of 3.00 and a standard deviation of 0.68 had a remarked of low, and learners who tried to understand a problem before trying to solve it scored 2.90 with a standard deviation of 1.00 described as low. Learners chosen and organized the material that they needed when they are going to do something, homeworks, works or studies, and etc. got a score of 2.75 with a standard deviation of 0.87 and described as low. Learners who asked oneself if they are doing their task well at school had a score of 3.15 and a standard deviation of 0.58 and were marked as high. Those learners who made an effort when they do tasks scored 3.13 with a standard deviation of 0.65 and remarked as high. Nonetheless, learners who explained their opinions and decisions scored 3.13 with a standard deviation of 0.65 and remarked as high. Hence, an overall remark of low for learners' level of critical thinking, problem solving, and decision-making skills before the intervention was made with a score of 2.75 with a standard deviation of 0.81. The above problem was the same challenges faced by Barakea 2019. Nowadays, where the face-to-face classroom instruction was crucial since it was not yet possible due to the surge of the COVID-19 cases and its variants threats. Therefore, helping learners by influencing them in engaging in the subject matter varies a lot since enhancement in their ability to think critically is an important life skill if taught in school. Practice makes perfectly done when critical thinking, problem solving, and decision-making skills within the concept of the teaching and learning arena is done in a daily occurrence in classrooms across the country, wherein this is further suggested on the importance of students' engagement because effort and preparations at school, which is devoted in its initiative towards investment in teaching learning process by using effective instructional practices from the collaborative effort of expert teachers that will enhance their 21st century skills. In this effort would not be made possible, then it would lead to chaos since engagement on science lessons and tasks would not be made possible since teachers cannot give what they do not have. As shown in Table 1.2, the level of learners' critical thinking, problem solving, and decision-making skills after the intervention was made, it indicated that those learners who compare different opinions or ideas to see which is better had a total weighted mean score of 4.27 and a standard deviation of 0.88 described as very high. The mean score of for learners who made decisions, according to the information that they had, got 4.06 with a standard deviation of 0.86 and described as very high. Then, learners who like to ask and to answer questions to learn something new got a score of 4.23 and a standard deviation of 0.87 and described as very high. Meanwhile, those learners who listen to the ideas of their friends and consider them when opinion formed got a mean score of 4.25 and a standard deviation of 0.84 had a remarked of very high. And learners who tried to understand a problem before trying to solve it scored 4.44 with a standard deviation of 0.77 described as very high. Learners chosen and organized the material that they needed when they are going to something like homework, works, or studies and others get a score of 4.21 with a standard deviation of 0.84 and described as very high. Learners who ask oneself if they are doing their task well at school had a score of 4.10 and a standard deviation of 0.88 and remarked as very high. Those learners who had made effort when they do their tasks scored 4.35 with a standard deviation of 0.72 and remarked as very high. Nonetheless, learners who explained their very own opinion and decisions scored 4.07 with a standard deviation of 0.87 and remarked as very high. Hence, an overall remarked a very high or learner's level of critical thinking, problem solving, and decision-making skills before the intervention was made with a score of 4.22 with a standard deviation of 0.84. According to Resilient 2022, critical thinking skills development is essential for the high school students, and it is a challenging task for high school teachers as well. This has to be addressed earlier at this grade level before they will proceed to tertiary education, as stipulated in the research made by Scott 2021. That differentiated instruction has to be maximized by all means in order for basic academic skills among many students could be properly addressed when there is collaboration between academic skills and subject area educators, administrators and stakeholders, and policymakers. Although these approaches require tremendous effort on the part of the teachers in planning the course of basic instructions in both contextualized and integrated teaching learning process through differentiated instructions in the teaching learning approach of the basic instruction of customizing 21st century skills. In the process of development of critical thinking skills, students are given a purpose-driven opportunity to build upon their knowledge and experiences in order to learn how to solve a certain dilemma. Raman 2019. Table 2 showed the significant difference between the learner's critical thinking, problem solving, and decision-making skills before and after the intervention. There were 71 senior high school grade 11 GAS A with 37 students and grade 12 GAS B with 34 students who were subjected in the study. Using paired sample t-test, a t-value of negative 2.80 and p-value of 0.00 were obtained. This statistical analysis were run through the use of alpha is equal to 0.05 level of significance or margin of error. The findings implied the adoption of the proposed intervention in the enhancement of learners' 21st century critical thinking, problem solving, and decision-making skills through the utilization of differentiated instruction learning approach in order to address the needs of the students by engaging teachers' expertise, go hand in hand with other educators' field of specialization, as well as in order to provide excellence in quality education, has significantly enhanced learners' 21st century critical thinking, problem solving, and decision-making skills. Furthermore, it suggested that instructions in the teaching learning process must be contextualized through utilizing the localized activities on top of the set of learning modules in order to enhance further learners' 21st century critical thinking, problem solving, and decision-making skills in learning. It indicated that enhancing 21st century critical thinking, problem solving, and decision-making skills in learning may take place when learners are given a specific performance task. This finding supported the idea of Rama 2019 that facilitating the development of critical thinking skills that covers the individual's ability to do conceptualizing, logical reasoning, applying strategy, analytical thinking, decision-making, and synthesizing in order to solve any problem is crucial in order to address on a recurring basis through various interdisciplinary and integrative lessons, projects, group situational problems, performance tasks, and/or individual assignments. In the process of development of critical thinking skills, students are given a purpose-driven opportunity in order to build upon their knowledge and experiences to learn how to solve a certain dilemma. Based on the aforementioned findings, the following recommendations were forwarded to the DepEd Llano del Norte officials. Integrate the curriculum, the adoption of different teaching strategies in addressing the 21st century learners, such as online, offline teaching delivery that help students increase in engagement in learning. To the school heads, encourage teachers to adopt teaching learning interventions that will enhance learners' 21st century critical thinking, problem solving, and decision-making skills in learning. To all the teachers, must abreast themselves in providing interventions in the Department of Education in the new normal through the adoption of different teaching learning strategies or styles that help in enhancement of the learner's 21st century critical thinking, problem solving, and decision-making in learning. To the learners, contextualized or localized activities must be given to learners in order to enhance learners' 21st century critical thinking, problem solving, and decision-making skills in learning. And to the community or to all the parents, the utilization of contextualized or localized activities help their children increase in the 21st century critical thinking, problem solving, and decision-making skills in learning. The result of this research will be disseminated in the management of KAPATAGAN National High School. Furthermore, it will be shared with the senior high school teachers, particularly the disaster readiness and risk reduction subject teachers, during the Learning Action Cell session. Technically, this result will become a basis for the teachers to design and develop teaching interventions that will build up in the enhancement of 21st century critical thinking, problem solving, and decision-making skills through utilization of differentiated instruction learning approach in order to address the needs of the students by engaging teachers' expertise that will go hand in hand with other educators' field of specialization, as well as in order to provide excellence in quality education. Furthermore, this research will encourage the education sector to continue on seeking for various ways and strategies to assure quality education amidst global crises and challenges. In addition, this will motivate educators to keep themselves abreast of the new trends in teaching. Once again, we are the research enthusiasts
of KAPATAGAN National High School, Division of Lanao del Norte.
Thank you so much.